Everyone knows the line. "Houston, we have a problem." Tom Hanks delivers it during the oxygen tank explosion, and it became one of cinema's most quoted moments. Except Hanks never actually says those words. These are 20 hidden details in Apollo 13 you completely missed. Number 1. The weightless scenes in Apollo 13 look seamless, like visual effects magic from 1995. But director Ron Howard didn't use digital trickery. The cast was filmed inside NASA's KC-135 aircraft, nicknamed the Vomit Comet, which creates 23 seconds of zero gravity per parabolic flight. Over 6 months, the production completed 612 flights, capturing 4 hours of usable weightlessness footage for $250,000. Bill Paxton vomited 8 times during filming. According to Howard's DVD commentary, Kevin Bacon refused anti-nausea medication, insisting he wanted authentic discomfort. The physical toll on the actors was immense, but Howard believed it was necessary. Watch the actors' faces during float sequences. That queasy expression isn't acting. It's genuine nausea captured on film, preserved because Howard believes suffering sold realism to audiences worldwide. Number 2. Jim Lovell receives a technical advisor credit in the opening titles, standard for space films consulting actual astronauts. But Lovell doesn't just advise from the sidelines. In the final aircraft carrier scene, when Tom Hanks steps onto the deck at the USS Iwo Jima recovery site, look at the Navy captain greeting him. That's Lovell himself playing the recovery ship commander, closing the loop on his own near disaster. He negotiated his cameo appearance for exactly $1, telling Universal Pictures he wanted a symbolic payment. This personal touch added emotional weight to the scene's conclusion. Tom Hanks sold his life rights to producer Brian Grazer for $10,000 in 1993, a fraction of what similar deals command today. Number 3. The mission control set looks meticulously recreated, down to the coffee-stained desks and outdated computer terminals. That's because Universal didn't recreate anything. When NASA decommissioned the original Apollo-era mission control in Houston during 1994, the studio bought the actual equipment for $50,000. An authentic 1960s IBM computer, control panels, communication systems, even the worn office chairs. Production designer Michael Kornblith had the entire setup transported to California and reassembled on a soundstage. Ed Harris insisted on operating real switches during his performance as flight director Gene Kranz, according to American Cinematographer's June 1995 feature. The tactile reality helped Harris connect with his character's technical precision. The functioning equipment saved an estimated $2 million compared to building replicas from scratch. Number 4. Kathleen Quinlan delivers a terrified performance as Marilyn Lovell, especially during scenes where she confronts the possibility of her husband's death in space. Her fear carries uncommon intensity because it's rooted in actual trauma. Quinlan suffers from severe claustrophobia, a condition she didn't disclose during casting to Ron Howard. When the production arranged a Johnson Space Center tour so the cast could experience genuine spacecraft interiors, Quinlan had a panic attack inside a cramped Apollo simulator. She broke down completely, hyperventilating until crew members extracted her. Howard, recognizing the authentic emotional breakdown, asked Quinlan if he could harness that terror for her performance alongside Tom Hanks. Her vulnerability became the character's defining emotional strength. Number 5. Test audiences in Pasadena saw a longer cut in April 1995 that included 18 minutes focused on Ken Mattingly's family dealing with his sudden removal from the Apollo 13 mission. Gary Sinise described these scenes as essential character work, showing Mattingly's wife and children processing the measles exposure crisis. Universal executives reviewed the test scores and issued a memo, arguing the film contained too many emotional threads for general audiences. They demanded the entire subplot be cut. Sinise fought to preserve the material, even offering to promote the film for free. The studio refused his passionate appeals. According to Film Comment's July 1995 issue, Ron Howard admitted the theatrical cut feels incomplete without those family moments. Number 6. The actors shiver visibly inside the capsule during the film's second half, their breath forming clouds in the cramped interior. That's not acting or digital enhancement from industrial light and magic. The soundstage was kept at 34 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks during filming at Universal Studios, cold enough that Tom Hanks developed mild hypothermia symptoms and required medical monitoring between takes. Universal executives refused requests to install heating systems, citing a production memo prioritizing authenticity over comfort. Crew members wore winter coats between setups, while Bill Paxton, Kevin Bacon, and Hanks suffered in thin flight suits. The actors pushed through despite the dangerous conditions. Watch the condensation on the actor's breath during dialogue scenes. It's completely real, captured because Ron Howard believed physical suffering translated to emotional authenticity. Number 7. The launch sequence looks flawless, a triumph of practical effects and archival footage blending seamlessly at Cape Canaveral. The first attempt failed catastrophically. The production spent $800,000 $100,000 filming a Saturn V launch using period-accurate camera equipment, only to discover during dailies that a camera malfunction had rendered all footage unusable with the wrong frame rate, creating a disorienting strobe effect. Ron Howard threatened to quit unless Universal funded a complete reshoot. The studio initially refused, leading to a 3-week standoff that delayed the film's release date. Howard's reputation was on the line with this technical disaster. Ron Howard eventually won, but the reshoot cost $6 million and required renegotiating location permits with NASA and the Air Force for Kennedy Space Center access. Number 8. The exploding oxygen tank panel in the capsule interior looks like a detailed prop built for destruction by the special effects team. It's not a prop at all. NASA donated actual Apollo 13 backup hardware to the production equipment originally manufactured as replacement parts in case the mission required modifications at Cape Kennedy. The Smithsonian Institution loaned additional decommissioned components under strict supervision, requiring a conservator on set whenever the artifacts appeared on camera. Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon touched and manipulated genuine spaceflight equipment during filming, hardware that could have flown to the moon. The historical significance wasn't lost on the cast members. Michael Kornblith told Cinefex magazine the authentic materials carried psychological weight for the actors at Universal Studios. Number 9. Ed Harris sounds uncannily accurate as flight director Gene Kranz, capturing his clipped Midwestern accent and precise technical vocabulary from mission control operations. Harris achieved this mimicry through secret means. Without requesting permission, Harris recorded Kranz during a Johnson Space Center facility tour, capturing his speech patterns, verbal tics, and command style. Harris studied the recording obsessively, building his performance around Kranz's authentic voice rather than creating a Hollywood approximation. Kranz discovered this unauthorized recording when he attended the premiere and heard his own phrases echoed back through Harris's performance. The experience initially shocked Kranz, hearing himself so accurately portrayed. According to Variety's July 1995 coverage, Kranz initially felt violated but later approved retroactively, impressed by Harris's dedication to Ron Howard's vision. Number 10. Apollo 13 carries a PG rating, presenting a family-friendly space disaster without harsh language or disturbing content for Universal Pictures. The actual Apollo 13 mission transcripts available through NASA archives at Johnson Space Center contain 47 documented instances of profanity, including astronauts swearing during the crisis, mission control personnel cursing equipment failures, and raw human panic breaking through professional composure. Universal demanded a PG rating to maximize box office potential, specifically targeting family audiences. Ron Howard fought to include at least some authentic language, arguing it sold realism. The studio refused to compromise with producer Brian Grazer. The sanitized dialogue felt artificial to Howard throughout production. Howard later told the Los Angeles Times the film lost its edge through censorship. Number 11. The insurance company covering Apollo 13's production refused to provide coverage for the zero-gravity filming sequences, deeming them unnecessarily dangerous and demanding the studio use stunt doubles instead. The estimated risk of injury during 612 parabolic flights aboard the KC-135 aircraft was considered commercially unacceptable. Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon responded by threatening to walk from the project entirely if they couldn't perform their own weightless scenes. Hanks argued that authentic zero-gravity performance was essential to the film's credibility at Universal Studios. The actors believed their commitment would elevate the final product. The studio eventually capitulated, but the insurance premiums tripled as a penalty, adding an estimated $4 million to Ron Howard's budget. The actors signed additional liability waivers, accepting personal responsibility. Number 12. Gary Sinise wears subtle facial prosthetics throughout the measles exposure scenes at Johnson Space Center, though the film never explains or draws attention to this makeup work. Prosthetics artist V. Neal created progressive infection stages showing Ken Mattingly's potential. Exposure symptoms with slight skin texture changes, barely perceptible redness around the eyes and cheeks, microscopic bumps suggesting the early stages of a rash. The detail remains invisible unless you watch Sinise's close-ups specifically looking for it. Neal told Makeup Artist magazine she wanted medical accuracy even for a disease that doesn't actually infect the character. The attention to detail went beyond what viewers could consciously perceive. Watch Sinise's face across his scenes. The prosthetics subtly intensify then fade as Tom Hanks and Ron Howard observe. Number 13. The 4-minute communication blackout during re-entry creates the film's most suspenseful sequence. Total silence distance from the capsule while Mission Control and the astronauts' families wait for confirmation of survival. The original screenplay by William Broyles Jr. and Al Reinert included dialogue during this blackout with the astronauts talking to each other, expressing fear and hope. NASA consultant Jerry Griffin at Johnson Space Center rejected the scene as historically impossible. The ionized plasma surrounding the capsule during re-entry makes radio communication physically impossible. Ron Howard rewrote the sequence overnight, replacing dialogue with silence and reaction shots from Ed Harris. This constraint forced Howard to rely purely on visual storytelling. The enforced accuracy accidentally created the film's most tense moment for Tom Hanks' character. Number 14. During the heated argument scene between Tom Hanks and Bill Paxton inside the capsule at Universal Studios, watch Hanks' left-hand position carefully because he keeps it hidden or positioned awkwardly throughout the sequence. Midway through filming, Hanks cut his hand on a sharp metal edge protruding from the set's interior wall, requiring 12 stitches. Rather than delay production, Hanks finished the scene one-handed, working through pain while cinematographer Dean Cundy's cameras rolled. Subsequent shots carefully conceal the bandaged hand through strategic camera angles and props. The continuity supervisor noted the injury in production logs, but Ron Howard decided to preserve Hanks' performance. His professionalism impressed the entire crew that day. Look closely during the argument climax with Kevin Bacon present. Number 15. Composer James Horner's iconic orchestral score elevates Apollo 13's emotional impact, but Horner and Ron Howard stopped speaking midway through production following creative disagreements about musical tone. According to Film Score Monthly's August 1995 coverage, Horner and Howard clashed over whether the music should emphasize heroism or vulnerability during sequences featuring Tom Hanks and Ed Harris. The conflict escalated until they ceased direct communication at Universal Studios. Horner composed the film's final 40 minutes without any director input, delivering the finished score as a fait accompli. Howard accepted Horner's work without requesting changes. Facing deadline pressure from Brian Grazer, the professional relationship never fully recovered after the film's release. The score carries an independent artistic vision. Number 16. Universal Pictures faced a lawsuit filed by Fred Hayes, the real Apollo 13 crew member portrayed by Bill Paxton, claiming defamation over his illness portrayal in the film. Hayes argued the script exaggerated his physical condition during the mission at Johnson Space Center, making him appear weaker than reality supported. His legal team demanded specific scene cuts and character alterations. The studio settled out of court for $500,000, agreeing to re-edit Hayes' portrayal before theatrical release. Bill Paxton's performance was shortened by approximately 6 minutes through careful editing by Ron Howard. The legal battle created tension between the filmmakers and NASA consultants. Premiere Magazine reported the basic settlement terms in June 1995, confirming that legal pressure from Tom Hanks' co-star's real-life counterpart influenced the final cut. Number 17. The Apollo 13 premiere in June 1995 celebrated NASA's cooperation and the film's historical accuracy, but 3 Apollo-era astronauts refused to attend, privately objecting to what they called Hollywood dramatization of a near tragedy. According to Space News Weekly, these astronauts from Johnson Space Center felt the film disrespected the mission's severity by transforming genuine disaster into entertainment spectacle. They believed dramatization trivialized the engineering expertise that actually saved the crew. Jim Lovell spent 2 years mediating between the boycotting astronauts and Ron Howard, eventually convincing them that public education about space exploration justified creative license. The reconciliation process required patience and diplomacy from all parties. Tom Hanks and producer Brian Grazer never publicly addressed the boycott during Universal Pictures promotional tours. Number 18. Test audiences. In Pasadena saw an alternate ending where Ken Mattingly fails to solve the power-up problem, leading to catastrophic re-entry failure. Ron Howard filmed this darker conclusion under pressure from Imagine Entertainment executives who wanted a version prepared in case test scores indicated audiences preferred tragic realism. The capsule burns up, all 3 astronauts die, and the film ends with Mission Control's stunned silence. Howard hated filming this ending at Universal Studios, calling it ethically wrong in a Variety interview. The test screening showed the tragic version once to audiences familiar with Tom Hanks. Scoring 38 out of 100, Universal executives immediately recognized their mistake with the depressing alternate ending. The footage was immediately cut and never shown again to producer Brian Grazer. Number 19. During Mission Control crowd scenes in the film's climactic moments, freeze frame the background and look for a silver-haired man in the back row of controllers. That's Alan Bean, the real Apollo 12 astronaut and fourth person to walk on the moon, appearing uncredited as an extra. Bean volunteered to participate after visiting the Universal Studios set during filming, telling Ron Howard he wanted to relive the mission control experience from the observer's perspective. According to the Austin American-Statesman's July 1995 profile, Bean found the experience emotionally overwhelming at Johnson Space Center, watching actors recreate the environment where he once worked alongside Gene Kranz. The nostalgia brought tears to Bean's eyes during several takes. His presence adds invisible historical authenticity near Tom Hanks and Ed Harris. Number 20. The line, "Gentlemen, it's been a privilege flying with you," has become one of Apollo 13's most quoted moments, a graceful acknowledgement of shared mortality. Tom Hanks improvised it during the final take at Universal Studios. The line appears nowhere in the screenplay by William Broyles Jr. and Al Reinert. Hanks felt the scene needed a verbal capstone, something that honored the crew's bond. Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon's reactions are genuine surprise because Dean Cundy's camera kept rolling as they processed Hanks's unexpected dialogue. Ron Howard immediately recognized the improvisation as perfect. The spontaneous moment captured the essence of the crew's relationship. According to Howard's Variety interview from July 1995, that spontaneous moment became iconic precisely because it wasn't planned. That oxygen tank explosion started this whole story. Now you understand what happened behind the Apollo 13 scenes, with actors who froze, vomited, bled, fought studios over deleted subplots and sanitized dialogue, and worked with genuine spaceflight hardware. Which hidden detail surprised you most, and what film should we open next?